what really helps us is live feedback, because we have a really lively developer community, both internal and external, and we get a lot of information from that. We also have people like our company really focuses on customers, and we have a lot of people working directly with customers.
Welcome to the Knowledgebase Ninjas Podcast, where Gowri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Good day, everyone. Our guest today is Andrii Tserkovnyi, technical writer at Spyker. Welcome, Andrii, to the Knowledgebase Ninjas Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, Gowri. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. And you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Andrii, sun is shining here, so all good.
Yeah, same on my side.
So let's start with a little bit more introduction about yourself, Andrii, and how did this whole amazing journey of technical writing begin for you? Your initial days, memories, please.
So I graduated as a teacher of English, but I really never wanted to become one, so I was looking for some other opportunities. And my first full-time job was in tech support. And in tech support, we paid a lot of attention to English, and I was also writing some articles, but that was like a side responsibility. And then one of my colleagues switched to technical writing. Well, I never knew about it at that time, but later she invited me to her company, which was Spryker. And at that point, I didn't really know anything about technical writing at all. Like, I was writing some documents, but never considered technical writing to be a job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I read about it a bit and realized that maybe as I write, I really liked writing. Maybe that would be like the option for me. And that's how I turned out to be a technical writer.
Fantastic. That's nice. So I'm guessing you're enjoying the role right now?
Yeah, but I never regretted this decision in the first place. I really like it.
Fantastic. So that's all we want, right? So
yeah.
Super. So what's your documentation process at Spyker, and who do you normally involve?
Well, we have a full documentation development lifecycle, and it's also tied to our general development process in Spyker. We have different people contributing on documentation, like almost the entire company. So we have product owners. They provide the vision for documentation and check the documentation against their requirements. We have developers who write technical documentation, and we also have architects who review technical documentation for consistency. And the process depends on the team you are working on as well, because we have multiple technical writers working in multiple development teams, and those development teams, they focus on particular parts of our product. Like, for example, we write for different audiences as well.
Mm-hmm.
When we write documents for non-technical audience, then the process is technical writers write documents from scratch based on the descriptions provided by product owners. Then we give these documents for a review for a product owner who checks it against their requirements. And then there is also a technical writer peer review just to make sure that everything is correct in terms of our company rules. When it comes to technical documentation, that's mostly written by developers. We have, for example, boilerplate documentation for feature integration guides and module updates. Those are written by developers. Technical writers only review them for grammar and formatting.
Mm-hmm.
And then architects do a consistency review for that. But then there is also this new process which we've just come up with for non-template technical documentation. That comes down to a product owner working with technical writing to create a draft of the document and then a structure. So a technical writer creates a structure of the document in the form of very specific questions. And then a developer who's been working on a related software, he writes this document by answering those questions. And then he passes it to the responsible technical writer, and you already have a document, a structured document, which you created yourself, basically. And then you can just adjust it a bit, and you have a ready document. So that's like 3 different processes for different teams.
Fantastic. So I know the whole process and procedures, they get evolved every time, right? So when there are some changes in this industry, so how do you manage your documentation workflow in this case, Andrii?
Well, we are using pretty basic tools, Jira and Confluence at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Super. And when it comes to important factors, what do you consider when creating documentation?
Apart basic things like style and audience, for me personally, lately it has been the reader's perspective. Nowadays software is very versatile, and you can do multiple things with the same piece of software. And when you write a document, you have to really consider what exactly your reader is going to do with it, and what exactly you want your reader to do, because there's multiple things they can do, and the software itself doesn't present like a straightforward one-channel thing, So you have to really direct the user towards some goal, and that has been a thing for me lately.
Right. Good. So when a piece of documentation is evolving, how much of that process do you like to be a collaborative process? Because we spoke a lot about the process, right? So I'm just trying to understand a little bit on the processes side now.
So when we work on documentation, Spryker, we always have just one technical writer working on a single piece of documentation. That's apart from peer review. But what's important to us is really a unified style in all the documentation. Because if compared to working alone, working in a team presents really lots of challenges in terms of delivering quality documentation, which for me personally means a unified style, unified formatting, and in general keeping all the documentation unified, and because there's just so many little but very important decisions you need to make in your daily routine, like what formatting do I apply to this particular piece of document, and what style you use there, and it concerns really every aspect of documentation. And when you're working alone, you can just make a decision and just keep notes of it, and you can keep using it every time you meet it again and again. Mm-hmm. But when you're working in a team, you have to make all those decisions together, and you also have to stick to them. And it's very important to choose the right approach here, because if, for example, you make a decision as a team, but then someone forgets about it, and it's not already a unified style in your documentation because someone decided to do otherwise. And we pay a lot of attention to that, really. We have a lot of templates for different types of documents. We have regular things where we address multiple questions, and we try to really fix that information somewhere, like in templates or in our style guides. So you can have something to refer to when you meet such situations where you just don't remember, or you have some doubts about this or that thing in your documents. Well, and so also there is this different aspect of developer documentation, for example, because developers as much as we like them, they don't really tend to provide quality documentation, and you really have to guide them a lot in terms of that. And we also try to give them as much opportunities as we can to contribute, and but we want to direct that. We want to channel their power to make good quality documentation together.
True. So I promise this will be the last question on the process, but because documentation process is a key aspect in maintaining the consistency and delivering the best. So what efforts have you made in your career to streamline the documentation process? It could be with Spyker or with your previous organizations, but how much effort have you put in your career to streamline the process?
I haven't been in documentation for a long time. It's almost 2 years now. And maybe the last year for me was the year of streamlining the processes in my team. I was mostly focused on creating those templates and working with developers to understand how we can improve our processes and how we can make it easier for everyone, and at the same time improve our documentation. And so and I think it's one of the things I like right now in this job. Apart from writing, of course.
So I would say majority of your time then.
Yeah.
Super. So how do you report on your documentation, and who do you normally report to? So I'm just trying to understand the team structure a bit here.
Yeah. So we have multiple channels where we gather feedback and reports on documentation. We have this document 360 analytics, and we also have Google Analytics where we gather data on our documents. But what really helps us is live feedback, because we have a really lively developer community, both internal and external, and we get a lot of information from that. We also have people our company really focuses on customers, and we have a lot of people working directly with customers. And when a project goes live, for example, we always gather feedback, and customers give us a lot of feedback about documentation too, because you can really work with Spryker without documentation. And we're also always open to contributions. You can edit any of our pages by just creating a pull request. And we have internal channels where developers and actually not only developers, but everyone can report issues of documentation. So yeah. And we work with that all the time. So in our job, this live feedback is more informative to us than just statistics. In terms of our team, we're just 4 people, and we have our manager. So basically, we report to her. That's all.
Super. All right, that's no problem, Andrii. So, in your opinion, you've been in the space for quite some time, right? So, what has been the most important innovation when it comes to document tracking during your career?
I really like this workflow data, when you can check which pages user go from and go to, and you can understand how people interact with your documents, because it's really important that you make your documentation easy to understand and you can guide users through it easily, because we have a really complex project, and it's very crucial that users go the way we want them to go. That's why I think it's very important for big projects.
Yeah, understood. So you did mention that you take the analytics from the customer's feedback and help to improvise the documentation. So am I correct in guessing that your documentation is something that's publicly available so anybody can access, correct?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Most
and
of our documentation is public.
super. So do you know if Spryker is currently generating any organic search traffic from your knowledge base documentation?
As far as I know, yes.
All right, super. So that's good. Fantastic. So is there anything I need to ask you before we move to the rapid fire round, Andrei?
No, I'm cool.
All right. So let me ask the 3 rapid fire questions. Who have you learned the most about documentation from in your career?
I think I learned the most from my manager, Helen, who I'm working with right now, because when I got into Spyker, it was my first technical writing job, and she helped me a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you, Helen. Can you share a documentation related resource you have consumed recently?
That was the website for plain English, because I really believe in plain English in technical writing. You can just check it out at Plain English Go.uk. It has a lot of great tips for plain English. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And what is the one piece of documentation related advice you would give to your own 20-year-old self?
It would be engage more with the community, because I've been engaging even more and more with the other technical writers, and it gives a lot of insights into your job and your views in general. Like, this is my first podcast, as you know. So yeah, I think it plays a great part in someone's life.
Fantastic. That's great, Andrei. So I think we are almost to the end of the podcast. Anything that you would like to share with our guests today? Any other tips or tricks before we say bye to them?
I think I know many technical writers listen to this podcast, and if you're looking to improve your English in general, not just for technical writing, I think a great tip would be to read a lot, not only documentation, but a lot of books. If English is not your native language, as is for me, I would suggest you read a lot, really a lot, and then you would feel confident with your English skills.
That's great. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Andrei. And once again, thank you for spending the last 25 minutes with us and helping us as a guest in this podcast. And have a good day and enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gowri. It's been a pleasure. And you have a good one too.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledgebase Ninjas Podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.